Nothing we say or do on this show is going to be financial or investment advice. Please consult a professional, not Evan or Joseph. We are nothing but just some goons talking about crypto and tokens and NFTs. We are not your financial advisors. We do not push your buttons. Please consult professionals.
A disclaimer, Joseph. Great job.
Thank you. I feel great.
We are ready for what I think is going to be the most electric show we've ever done. Steph shows up 3 minutes before the live stream, thinking that there'll never be any technical difficulties, and of course the camera doesn't work on our end. But thank God David had worse technical difficulties to make us forget about Steph's technical difficulties. So we have David here from White Whale. David, how are you, sir?
Hi, Evan. Thanks. I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing all right. We're going to chug through this. Hopefully we can hear you as we do it. But Joseph, you're the one that's excited. You've got all the questions lined up. So come on, let's hear from you, sir.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to hear about what's going on over at White Whale. I mean, obviously, you guys are kind of the titans of the industry over at the Terra blockchain, bringing in some really innovative products and actually bringing in the ability to do flash loans and make it simpler for new users to not actually have to extensively interact with blockchain. So I'm really interested to see what you guys are doing from a pivoting approach, just going into this new direction, and just in general how the White Whale team is doing since everything has happened on Terra.
Well, that's a lot of questions. So let's start with the team. So the team is everybody's doing great, I think. We had, during the Terra crash, it was a tough weeks, tough months. I think everybody who was in the ecosystem remembers that period. But beyond that, so we pivoted quite quickly after the collapse to our new model. So there was no time, crying about money we lost, everybody lost. And we started, building and shipping again. So that helped, definitely.
That's good.
Now, regarding what we're doing now, so that's a tough question. Maybe, shall we drop the biggest alpha right in the beginning, just to get everybody excited?
Ooh, yeah, go for it.
How do you guys normally do this? Keep the alpha until the last moment, or
no? I mean, we usually kind of just leave it up to the guests. Whatever you guys want to do. I mean, it's like what's going on in the White Whale world. If you guys have got some alpha to drop, feel free.
Let's just go straight right in the big alpha here. So everybody knows Terra after the collapse has been, hiding in the shadows a little bit. Terra Classic community was taking off a little bit, but Terra 2, there wasn't much big news. But TFL and Do Kwon, by the way, Do is fine. He's alive. They have been building in the shadows quite a lot, and I think they're gonna come out pretty big pretty soon. Not financial advice here, so personal disclaimer here again. And their spearhead, or one of the spearhead projects they're gonna release that I'm aware of, is Interchain Alliance, which is a competitor to Mesh Security. So the idea is that you have your tokens, like your Atoms and Junos, and you can stake it on different chains. So you could, for example, if Terra and Juno got into an alliance, you could stake Juno on the Terra chain. So that's the idea behind this. And now coming to the big alpha drop. So White Whale is building its own chain, and we will be among the first to pioneer, on the shoulders of TFL Interchain Alliance and go live with this.
Interesting. So you guys are actually going to be deploying your own chain through the Terra Alliance. So when it goes through launching your own chain, are you guys going to be building using the Cosmos SDK? Or are you guys going to be using any of the stuff that's already in the ecosystem? Because I've basically, the simplistic overview that I have heard is that the Alliance is kind of replacing a key component to the Cosmos development process, or at least making an upgrade on the development process. Love to hear your thoughts on that.
So there are two projects that TFL is building. One is Alliance. This is this cross-staking, security thing. And then there's Feather. Feather is, to put it very simple, a tool to very quickly bootstrap new blockchains. And we're probably not using Feather, simply because it's still experimental software, but we're gonna stick to Interchain Alliance, so this cross-staking solution. And obviously we don't want to reinvent the wheel, so we're gonna use the Cosmos SDK for sure. and build a permissionless COSM-WASM chain.
Interesting. Evan, you got any questions?
Well, can you dive a little bit deeper into the cross staking? And I know it's with the use of like liquid staking derivatives, and I don't know if on this show we've ever even really done that much of a deep dive into Alliance, other than I think Jared maybe teased the dashboard a little bit. Can you talk about like at a high level how does White Whale interact with Alliance? How does liquidity sort of move around between chains, and how do you share liquidity for security purposes and for overall like from a user perspective?
Again, so many questions. Let me try to answer them all. So, Alliance. So again, I'm not a TFL member, so I didn't code the thing. I just looked at it and did my due diligence on it. The way it works is that it's it's a module in the Cosmos SDK, so other chains can adopt this module via a chain upgrade, for example. And it allows you to to make governance proposals. So think of once this module is in the blockchain, you can set up proposals, and the proposal basically reads, hey, let's go into an alliance with this chain. And then you set, for example, how many voting weights should the tokens coming from that chain get, and how many rewards should they get from the inflation on the chain or the rewards. And once the proposal passes, other people can just send over, I mean, they can always send over the tokens, but then once the proposal passed, they can stake their tokens to the validators. So let's say White Whale and Terra are going into an alliance. So having this alliance module, having a gov proposal. Everybody agrees that we should do an alliance with Terra. And once that's done, people can just send over the Luna and stake it to the validators like they would stake their whale tokens. That's the idea behind Alliance.
Interesting. So it's as if you guys are basically connecting the governance and also the almost economically tying the chains together. Is that a fair way to kind of describe what you're seeing with White Whale integrating here immediately on Alliance?
Yeah, you said it perfectly well. And I think that's why the term alliance is so well chosen, because it is indeed, you enter an alliance with a chain, and obviously there's mutual benefit if both parties activate this and go into an alliance. So both communities can cross stake their assets. And White Whale, we're an interchain protocol. So we're live on right now 5 chains: Juno, Terra, Injective, Comdex, and my favorite meme coin, Chihuahua Chain. And so by nature of the product we're building, we're already very deeply connected in the ecosystem. Probably, one of the most connected projects in the whole ecosystem, simply because we're, in every corner with our tokens, with our flash loans, with our bots. And Alliance just, it's a perfect fit. So you Americans, you say hand in glove, and we Germans, we say fist in the eye, and it just matches.
You say
That's incredible.
fist in the eye? Is that what Germans say?
That's what Germans say. Yeah, hand in glove, fist in eye,
It seems a little
or
bit
on
more of
eye.
like
I
a
don't know.
combative turn of phrase than hand in glove, but okay.
I mean, I would still think that I would hear that in Pittsburgh. If I had to think of a city that would make that name, it would be Pittsburgh.
Fist in the eye. Well, I'm going to start it. I'm going to start saying it. So David, aside from White Whale, I guess you guys are going to be like part of the debut of Alliance. We spoke with Jared last week about potentially some testnet. I don't know what you want to call it, debauchery or degeneracy, where people can kind of test it out and start to yield some testnet tokens. Are you guys going to be a part of that as well?
We try to. Obviously, our priority is to spin up our chain first. But as soon as there's a little bit time on our schedule, we'll dive right into testing Alliance, so we can ship or help ship this as fast as possible to spearhead this great technology TFL has been developing.
How do
And
you see
now,
this? Oh, go for it. Yeah, sorry.
so now instead of when you guys say you're going to spin up your own chain, a lot goes into that, right? And most of it is the legwork of finding validators. You want to have a diverse validator set. You don't want to have like with Luna Classic, potentially we've got some drama where maybe one validator is a white label of 12 different nodes, and they've got the keys, and you don't want all the centralized mess. So using Alliance, you can essentially use a validator set that's already kind of tried and true and has a high Nakamoto efficient or whatever the hell they call it. Use some of that security in a way that you can kind of rely on them. Is that how it works, or will you still have your own validator set that you bring into Alliance?
With Alliance, you still have your own validator set, similar to how you have your own validator set with mesh security. So just to talk a little bit more about this to clear the confusion, there are basically two categories of solutions for shared security in the Cosmos right now. One is developed by the Cosmos Hub, which is interchain security or replicated security, and that's basically, let's bribe the validators of the Cosmos Hub to run my chain. That's the whole idea behind this. And this is exactly what you said. You don't need to select validators, make sure you got a diverse set. That's all taken care of because you use the ones from the Cosmos Hub. Mesh security and Interchain Alliance are different in that respect, that you still have your own sovereign chain with your own validator set. You just whitelist tokens from different chains that can be staked on your chain too, alongside your native token, while having them also be slashed if the validator misbehaves. So that's the idea behind this.
Go ahead, Joseph.
Okay. I think I'm just thinking about kind of like the meta moves here. I guess like I'm trying to understand what you see WhiteWhale kind of filling in for the Cosmos Hub narrative. What is part of that Cosmos mission, and how does it weave into the whole Atom 2.0 mess that happened? I mean, I guess it's not necessarily a mess. I think it's just governance at this point, if you want to call it a mess. But yeah, just would love to hear how you guys see WhiteWhale kind of intermingling with the rest of the Cosmos Hub and actually bringing in something that benefits the rest of the ecosystem, as opposed to kind of joining in on this new Terra Alliance and everyone thinking that the Terra Alliance is actually causing more harm to the Cosmos Hub.
That's a great question, Joseph. Thanks. There are a couple of points. Let me just start with interchain, arbitrage, and MEV. So as some people know, we have open sourced our MEV bots, so everybody can use them. They integrate with Skip and our Flash loans, so you don't need capital and you don't need the fastest internet connection. So, and for those of you who read, and just on that, we're going to continue developing this and maintaining this, so we help to democratize MEV extraction for the whole ecosystem. Now, for those of you who read the Atom 2.0 white paper, which I encourage everybody to do, I found it very thought-provoking. Sam Hart, he joined Skip, and we just had last week a conversation with him and Barry from Skip to work on a prototype of interchain arbitrage, so interchain MEV extraction in that sense. So that's another thing. The next thing, which is my main point here. So the Cosmos ecosystem, or the vision of the Cosmos, is this app chain thesis that, I think it was Tendermint, the CEO, I forgot his name. He said his vision is to have 1 million blockchains in the Cosmos ecosystem. I don't know if we ever reach that number, but I'm sure the number we have right now will be less than by the end of the year. So the more the interchain grows, the more diverse, so the more fractured everything gets. You get, with every new chain, you get new money markets, new DEXs, new lending platforms, and so on. You got very specialized blockchains like Injective and Comdex. You have more general ones, but the point is, the more the ecosystem grows, the more liquidity spreads. And this problem, this leads to market inefficiencies. So you have shallow pools with high slippage. You have price disparities. Just because someone trades a lot of Luna on Terra doesn't mean the price changes on osmosis. So and the more the ecosystem grows, the complicated it gets and the more inefficient it gets. And we think, we saw this issue about a year ago and thought, hey, let's build a protocol around this to mitigate these issues. So we're building this, what we call interchain protocol, that think about an aqueduct system between cities, where liquidity, so tokens, can flow between the different blockchains based on where they need it most. And just to give you a very simple example of how that's going to look like for the end user will just be able to deposit liquidity in one place, like on our application, from whatever chain. And this liquidity will then get distributed across the whole ecosystem wherever WhiteWhale has its liquidity hubs. So, and that's a huge, I think, huge benefit in terms of user experience. You don't have this fractionalized user experience from different blockchains, but in fact you have one interface that seamlessly integrates with different chains.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. So, and actually, this might not be a perfect analogy, but Joseph and I were just talking about this yesterday, because Joseph is a huge Canto. What are you, Cantonese? What do they call Canto people?
So there's like a whole bunch of things. You can call us Cantos, long necks. I go by long
you
neck.
Cantonese. Joseph's Cantonese, and he started to infect me with. Well, no, I don't want to say that because that sounds. Anyway, so we were looking at Canto prices anyway, and you go to like a CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap, and you see like the on-chain Canto DEX has a price of like 36, and then you look at one of the centralized exchanges and the price is like 52, and there's this huge discrepancy. And I think part of the reason is it's really hard to get into the Canto DEX where most of the liquidity is, right? You got to bridge 7 times. You think you lost your money. You think you got rug pulled. Only clowns like Joseph would convince me to get into this ecosystem, which is actually great. I'm a huge Canto fan. But so the reason I say it's not a perfect analogy is because I am comparing a centralized exchange to a DEX there. But I feel like what you're saying, David, is some of these new chains spin up and maybe they don't have a ton of liquidity and there's a huge price discrepancy on assets. And what you can do with WhiteWhale is spread that liquidity across so that you start to see or at least take advantage of some of these arbitrage opportunities. Like at its core, is WhiteWhale still an arbitrage machine where people that maybe are just regular Joe Schmoes with lower amounts of capital can still come in and benefit from those opportunities?
Yeah, so I would say the WhiteWhale, let's call it V2, what we're building right now is a superset of WhiteWhale V1. So the only difference is that we don't share the profits of our trading bots right now. But I mean, we partly share them because we use Skip protocol and that shares it with the validators. But we share it in the sense that we open sourced it and everybody can use it now. And the flash loan vaults, there are still, everybody can deposit liquidity in there and benefit from arbitrage opportunities that various bots take. So you're right. But I don't think there's a scenario where we will be able to integrate with centralized exchanges. The WhiteWhale, interchain liquidity protocol will only work on chains where we have contracts on. So there are a couple of hard requirements we currently have, which is COSM, and IBC. So that's why 5 chains at the moment. We do have ideas and plans, for the long term, how we can expand this to EVM-based blockchains that are connected via IBC, for example, Evmos or Canto. But that's, long road ahead.
Right. And I mean, that's why I said it's not a perfect analogy. I don't want to try and ask you if you guys are going to be on a centralized exchange, because that's, in my world, not beneficial to anyone. I would rather everything be off the centralized exchanges. But yeah, I get where you're coming from. Can we talk a little bit, because you used a term here that my pea brain I just can't wrap my head around it. You said it's interchain MEV extraction. Now, for us dummies out there, MEV stands for miner extracted value, but you're making this interchain MEV extraction. Can you expand on that? What does that mean?
Sure. Imagine you have an Atom USDC pool on Luna, and the Atom trades at $10. You have the same pool on Juno, and there it trades for $11. So there's a huge price discrepancy. And this is, by the way, what I was referring to earlier. The more the ecosystem grows, the more chains we have, the more pressing this issue gets. Because someone trades, a lot of or buys a lot of Atom on Juno doesn't mean the price propagates, to all the other chains. So let's stick to the example. Atom $10 a pop on Terra and 11 on Juno. So now somebody can go ahead, buy a lot of cheap Atom on Terra, move it to Juno, and sell it there for a premium to dollars again. And at the end of the day, he got net profit. He's back in dollars, and he used this market inefficiency to make bank. That's arbitrage. Now, normally, arbitrage in the scope of blockchain is done in a single transaction, so that there is no risk involved. This only works when you do this on a single blockchain, because then you can just submit a transaction, sell or buy here, sell there, and be done. It gets way more tricky if you do this across blockchains, because you can't just send a transaction, because there are two blockchains. So you need to buy on one and sell on the other, and then move assets around. So that's where it gets really complicated, but that's also where a lot of value lies right now. So I encourage everybody to right now check out our application. We have a lot of different pools, for example, Atom, USDC, or USDT. And I promise you, if you go to Injective, Terra, and Juno, you will find slight price differences. And whoever wants to take them can just buy cheap, buy low, sell high right now. And to answer your question, even the point is that interchain arbitrage, so this buying on one chain and selling on the other chain, that's riskful, because by the time you do this, someone else could be faster, and then you're left back holding. So this sucks. You don't want this, which is why Skip comes into play. And we're conceptualizing ideas how we can do this in a way that you're not stuck with your bags. So reduce the risk and thus make the ecosystem more efficient.
Interesting. Can you you said you're conceptualizing it. I don't want to give anything away, but I mean, can you expand on where does Skip come into play? Are they like working with a validator that's maybe running on both chains, and then that validator somehow compiles a transaction from both chains into the same block? I mean, I'm just a bagel shop owner. I'm an idiot. I don't know, but that's the way it sounds like it might work to me. Am I going down the right path there?
Yeah, you're going there. So in the correct path. Yeah, you do. So we had two ideas. The first idea is that, or just to talk a little bit about Skip here. So Skip basically allows you to bid on places in the block. So if you submit a transaction, you can tell Skip, hey, I want to be the first in the block. First transaction in the block. Here is $10 for it. A bribe. And then the validator takes the money, puts you first, and distributes the money to its stakers. That's the idea behind Skip. And even you're right, when you have Skip validators on two chains, you can try to coordinate this. For example, I, as someone who wants to take this interchain arbitrage, buy on one chain and sell on the other, I can try, or Skip can try to offer me something like, your transactions on both chains get the first spot. So the topic is a little bit complicated. That's why I'm struggling to explain it in as simple as I can here. But the idea is to reduce risk as much as possible. So Skip can try to guarantee, hey, you buy and sell immediately at the same time on both chains, or you don't. So either
Right.
it works or it doesn't. That's the idea behind this.
And so Skip basically serves as that intermediary that's like executing that transaction on behalf of users.
Exactly. So I think half a year ago, Magnus, the founder of Skip, and he introduced himself to White Whale, and he said something that's still on my mind to this day. He said, in context of interchain MEV and MEV in general, that Skip is building the execution layer solution that allows you to efficiently extract MEV in a fair manner that also benefits the ecosystem, for example, by sharing revenues with the stakers. And WhiteWhale is building the liquidity solution with our protocol so that liquidity flows where it's needed. And I think together it's quite a strong combination.
What do you think, Joseph? The
I mean,
future of Interchain.
I think it's definitely going to be useful. I mean, I definitely see there being, as the Cosmos Hub does expand, it's going to be very useful for those that are trying to make that passive income on assets that they're already actively holding. It's going to be really interesting to see how many assets you guys can integrate. It's going to be a mad dash for integrating assets, I see. I mean, obviously, I'm on the Canto EVM side of the world, so I'm really excited to see when you guys integrate EVM Cosmos SDK chains. But yeah, I've been really interested in the whole arbitrage expansion because there's just the innate nature of the interchain world that the Cosmos Hub is creating has basically created an environment where there's so many types of arbitrage opportunities, and so I see that WhiteWhale is kind of the number one protocol that's targeting that opportunity, that market share. So really bullish just to see you guys tackling this.
Steph, if you could share my screen here. So you mentioned earlier, David, about these pools, and just taking a quick look here, we've got Juno Atom USDC, and Juno USDC. Now, these pools are on Juno specifically, or where do these pools live that you mentioned?
Correct. Those are on Juno, and you see, let's just memorize that. So Atom is trading at 13.09, and this we call this liquidity hub. So our protocol consists of two components. One is this liquidity hub, and that's deployed on a lot of different chains. And it includes a DEX, it includes flash loans, and it will include another or a couple of more interesting features in the future. And this is going to be a standalone application with fee sharing, with staking, with governance. And that's basically everywhere, on 5 chains right now. And if you go to the top right of the image or the page, there's a drop-down menu, and you can select different chains there. There you go.
Gotcha. Okay. Interesting. So
Wow.
you can basically, through WhiteWhale, if you see a price discrepancy, come in here, add liquidity to one pool, remove it from another, and benefit from that price discrepancy.
Well, not yet. So the way you would benefit from the price discrepancy right now is you would send funds to one chain, buy low, and sell it high on the other. That's how you would do it right now in the current state of the ecosystem.
But in the future, as you guys maybe integrate with Skip, we're going to see the ability for someone to come in and essentially execute a buy on one chain where the asset's lower and a sell on another chain and execute it all in one transaction.
Yeah, that's something we're conceptualizing ideas for right now. Yeah.
Well, I think that sounds pretty damn cool.
Yeah, 100%. It's already going to be useful. I know a lot of people in the Cosmos Hub who are holding so many of the assets you guys are already actively supporting, like Juno. I believe you guys are on Osmosis. I'm not sure though. No, you guys aren't on Osmosis. Well,
we're not.
That's interesting. Are you okay? So now I have a question about competition on the horizon. I know that Osmosis is kind of trying to become that interchain liquidity hub. Do you see it being any sort of competition with that mission in mind, or do you see it being kind of synergistic with the strategy, or am I just completely out of bounds?
I think the relationship between Osmosis and WhiteWhale could be best described as antagonistic. So we're the complete opposite of what we're trying to do. So you're right, Osmosis is building this DeFi and liquidity hub with the idea that liquidities should be on Osmosis, and everything should evolve around Osmosis, and they have these outposts where people from other chains can trade to Osmosis and back, but the liquidity is still on Osmosis. With WhiteWhale, we have the complete opposite idea, namely that every ecosystem should have its own set of liquidity, and with everybody having its own liquidity, you get market inefficiencies, as I said earlier, and we try to solve these issues for everybody. So I don't see it happening that, Injective, say, Kujira, they all say, all right, bye bye liquidity, let's go all to osmosis. I think everybody will try to capture its own liquidity, its own tokens, and that's what we are betting on, and that's where we're trying to help people to help ecosystems to make it more efficient.
Steph, we got some comments. Maybe you can pull up anything that you think is relevant. Question here from Oskrig Lanze. Hopefully I said the name right. Any plans for airdrops for Atom, Juno, Luna holders, stakers?
Yes.
Any airdrop news in general, I think, would be a better way to ask it.
Yes. Airdrop news. There will be an airdrop. So first of all, for those of you who held Whale, Classic Whale on Terra Classic, you will get your tokens back 1-to-1, so nobody will be left out. And then there will be a second airdrop for our new communities, and everybody who so on every chain we have our protocol on, which is Terra, Juno, Injective, Comdex, and Chihuahua. All these communities will receive an airdrop. Bonus points if you delegate to our validator, because we use that to finance ourselves in a decentralized manner.
What's next, Steph? Appdepto TV, who's an avid fan of the show, says, when UST 2.0 arbitrage on WhiteWhale?
Well, I'm just waiting for UST to come back, so I'm ready. Our bot is ready. Bring it.
How would you feel? If UST 2.0 got announced like at a month from now? Yeah.
It depends. So specify the question. Do they announce it with this exact same functionality, or do they change something?
I guess if they change the model, I guess that's, assuming that they've changed the model, and some people think that it's more robust and they're claiming that it's more robust. How are you guys going to feel? Are you guys going to start going back towards that model at any point in time?
I'm going to be frank. I would use UST again in both cases. I just think UST is great.
Wow, truly dedicated. He would use it in both cases. I like that.
Wait until I tell you about the new UST. It's called Note. It's on the Canto EVM environment. You can use Note. It's a stable unit of account. It's technically not a stable coin, but it is completely decentralized. I think people in the EVM world, just in general ETH world, don't really understand what UST was trying to accomplish outside of just being a stable coin. So I think that EVM people are going to be really surprised at how strong that decentralized stablecoin narrative was, and how important it was to a lot of like Bitcoin people. I know, Evan, you're a Bitcoin maxi, or at least you were at one point in time. I know you respect the orange coin, and I think a lot of people agreed with the mission of like that decentralized stablecoin. And just long term, I see that a lot of EVM people and ETH people who are afraid of that narrative or just didn't think it was worthy are going to warm up to the concept and be thinking, oh, if I actually want to build a decentralized economy, we do need an actual decentralized stable unit of account. So
I see you're choosing your words carefully. A decentralized stable unit of account is the newest Ponzi. The newest Ponzi. No, kidding. Well, David, I learned a lot actually from this. Exciting to see. And, it's so funny because just yesterday, Joseph and I literally in one of our chats, I was like, look at the price discrepancies between these two. And he's like, why do you think it is? And I was like, well, guaranteed it's because Canto is so hard to bridge in and out of. And, and then to move it to a centralized exchange is another whole nother step of waiting for, them to process the transaction on their end. So, you could try and arb it, but at the end of the day, if the order book dries up and, all the asks or the bids or whatever side you're on, if that dries up or there's not enough there, you could be left bag holding, like you said, David. So it'll be interesting to see this play out and become more robust across all the Cosmos chains. I've learned a lot. If there's anything, David, that you haven't spoken about or you want to tell the people about, please speak now.
Check out our application, try it out, play with it. Now's the time to play with it with the upcoming airdrop. And that's it.
All right, excellent. Where can they go to check out the application, by the way?
whitewhale.money.
Excellent. David, thank you so much for coming on. Joseph and I are going to continue the show here live, but we appreciate you joining us, and glad we could iron out all the technical difficulties.
Evan and Joseph, was a great pleasure talking to you today. Thank you very much.
Great time, David. Thank you for joining us.
Have a good one.
All right, Joseph, take us into the next section of the show. What are we talking about?
All right. You said that there was some Luna Classic stuff going on, but we could cover the flip side insight of the week. It's a quick one, but I won't be able to share my screen because I'm not on my main PC. Do you have your screen share available by any chance?
To do the flip side insight of the week, what are you going to tell
I'm
me
gonna
the
send
URL
you the
out
link.
loud?
I'm gonna send you the link, and you're going to scroll through it, and you're gonna like it. That's just how it's
Send
gonna
it to
happen.
me. Send it to me.
I'm sending it right now. But yeah, everything's going on inside of the Cosmos world. I've been just diving deeper into everything's going on. Eventually, and finally, I got Evan to ape into Canto. Obviously, not financial advice. No one do any decisions based off of what we talk about on the show. But I've been looking deeply into Canto. I know that you're an aficionado of the eco now. How do you feel after setting up an OB validator over there?
I feel great. I think we got like a 19 cents, like 1900ths of a US dollar was our first yield from running a Canto validator. So if you're looking for a validator that's like an underdog, feel free to validate to us. Is this Cosmos and delegation? Is that what we're looking at here?
Yes, we're looking at that Cosmos delegation. I've got a couple of charts that I want to pull up. This is just kind of deep diving into what's happening in terms of governance, because that's all that happens in the bear market. I'm afraid it's just governance and stuff launching and stuff happening, and then the Cosmos is no different about how intense that governance has gotten. And so this I think it was about a month ago we ran a bounty over at Flipside. And we did basically an in-depth analysis. So shout out to Alien, one of our top analysts, got a really great score on this dashboard. This top portion is going to just kind of dive into what general is Cosmos delegation and how delegation works. But if you scroll down, there's a really interesting chart, which I think you're going to be happy about since you're a OB validator. Just keep heading on down. I'll tell you when to stop. Which one? All right, keep going. Keep going. It's one that's going to at Coinbase and all the other validators. Binance staking. There we go. Top 10 destinations to redelegate. All right, move on down one more, I think. Right here. All right. Here we go. Now we're going to be able to see where people are actually leaving from. So if you look at that bottom right and that, in that bottom right chart, that circular chart, we can actually track and see what we did some investigations. We wanted to see what people were doing when they wanted to redelegate, and how often people were redelegating from certain validators on the Cosmos ecosystem. Basically, people who were rage redelegating, depending if they were rage delegating from a certain
Rage redelegating.
yeah, rage redelegating. And what, like, so basically we did this comprehensive analysis that dives into the redelegation process. Are people redelegating because they're pissed off at a certain like proposal, or are they redelegating because of like political alignment or whatever reason? For whatever reason, the top three validators that were just absolutely hemorrhaging and had the most types of redelegates are going to be coming from centralized exchange validators: Binance staking, Coinbase custody, and Kraken.
And then you see the fourth one is literally called inactive validator, do not delegate.
Yeah. So it's basically kind of showing that people who come to the Cosmos, I think it's like an important thing to note is that people that come to the Cosmos are typically people who are really in depth with blockchain and probably more involved and more aware of like who's building inside of ecosystems. So I think that what we're seeing here, and this is just pure speculation on my side. I'm not actually the data analyst who did this analysis, but from my perspective, this is telling me that people are more likely to come into the Cosmos. And once they get educated about DeFi and they're a little bit more DeFi native, they are more likely than not to redelegate away from these exchanges and go for the small fries that are actually making impacts in their ecosystem.
Now I do notice that Donku's Zone has been redelegated away from, I mean, he's second to last on the list, but he still made the cut as one of the most undelegated people out there. And I don't see Terabytes or Obi on here. So big shout out to Donku and how we continue to dominate him in all aspects.
Yeah, R.I.P. Donku, just really down bad. He's just so down there. But yeah, that's just something that I thought was really interesting.
So this is
Inspiring.
across all of Cosmos, or this is just one chain specifically?
This is specifically for the Cosmos Hub. This is specifically for Cosmos Hub.
Gotcha.
And the
So we
validators that
actually
have-
technically wouldn't be on there because we've never been in the active set.
Oh, I
for
didn't know.
Cosmos
Okay.
Hub.
I know you guys are in Osmosis. I think we may have ran this analysis on Osmosis validators. I'd like to actually dive into that. So at some point we can bring that one. I'll look into see if we actually did that analysis. But just really interesting to see where people are leaving from. People don't like those centralized exchanges. They're just not.
So let's take a look here because this is actually might be a pretty good. Oh my god, this might be a decent segue into the Luna Classic drama, which I wanted to bring up briefly here before we depart. Let's see. Top 10 source validators of each week with most redelegates from them over time. So this is where most people are undelegating from. Is that correct?
Yes, that would be correct.
Okay, and we see Gata DAO. Is this listed like most
Yeah,
least, or is this just...
I believe that is listed from greatest to least. Yeah, I believe it would make sense if it was, but I do not know exactly.
Okay, I'm going to turn every one of these off except for notional. And what did that do for me?
That did nothing.
And that did absolutely nothing.
No idea what's happening on that front. That's some UI glitching.
You know what? It's probably showing more data than what I have an option to
to actually customize from here.
To remove. But the reason I wanted to talk about notional, and for anybody that wants to check out this dashboard, head on over to app.flipside.com//cosmos-delegation-WE8RFR for those people just listening. You should scroll. Okay, I will scroll. Anyway, yeah, this looks pretty cool. Excited to see kind of, from this, if you can kind of derive like large events. I would imagine, if Coinbase comes out with some BS, centralized attack on Cosmos or whatever, you would see a lot of people sort of delegate away from them, et cetera, et cetera. So I wanted to talk about the leader of Notion, which is this guy here, Jacob Gadikian. Have you heard of Jacob Gadikian?
Yeah, I've seen him around. He's been involved in a lot of controversy as far as I'm.
He is definitely a controversial guy. At first, I wasn't a huge fan of him because he like freaked out. My first ever encounter with him was him like basically saying that Luna validators were like doing something wrong because we weren't going to like the proposal for Luna version 2 wasn't going to airdrop to UST holders on Osmosis. And meanwhile, we didn't even have a chance to like redo the proposal or change it or say anything. It was like a first draft, and he came out and was like, "No, I'm Jacob Gadikian," and he kind of sounds like that. And he's like, "And if you guys, I know I've got a lot of power in Cosmos, and I'm gonna use it against you." And so my first experience with him was not pleasant. I was like, this guy is a clown.
I think I remember that. You messaged in the group chat. You were like, "Who the fuck is this Jacob guy?"
Yeah. So I didn't like him at first, but actually there's a method to his madness, and he is very controversial when he kind of comes out and like just says what's on his mind. But he actually brings up some really good points, and he's brought up some good points about like some open source stuff in Juno, some issues with Kujira. And again, like I try and be respectful to all the builders, and I know that they go through a lot, and I've been there before, but Jacob stirs the pot in the name of security. And he also one time got arrested for like stealing a truck in Cambodia, and he got beat up by the cops or by like an angry mob. Which I'm sorry is kind of badass. Like that, I wish I had that story to tell. So people try to post it and like shame him, and I'm like, dude, like people wish that their life was like that fucking cool. You stole a truck in a drug-fueled rage. That's sick. So anyway, I just want to talk about what's going on with Luna Classic, because maybe we do have some Luna Classic viewers that respect our opinion and don't just comment and talk shit on us. But Luna Classics, they've kind of got this like crisis going on that Jacob pointed out, where apparently this validator, this white label validator service called AllNodes is, it's a service for non-technical people to come in, and basically, if you're an influencer and you want to, attract these votes, they're the ones that deal with the validation, spinning up the machines, But with AllNodes, apparently they have the private keys, and they have it to like a large percent of the network. And I've seen some figures like 40%, enough to essentially pass any threshold, for voting, for governance, or who knows, rug the community. There's just a bunch of issues with that when you have someone that holds the keys to that much voting power, and that much basically governance command over the network. And so Jacob, he points this out. He does it in Jacob Gadickian fashion, where he comes out with an article and he's like, you should not delegate to these guys because they're bad, but look, and then you can validate the notional. So it wasn't the best look, because it does kind of look like he's just trying to like shit on one of his competitors, but he has a great point. And I wanted to just show this one tweet, if you can bring this up, because he's beat the thing to death, and I think he's not. I would be shocked if he continues like working with Luna Classic. But this is the person that's like arguing against him. And this is just, I just want to get your feelings on this, Joseph, because like, I don't know, it took me a long time to kind of wrap my head around like what crypto is all about and what Bitcoin's all about. And for the longest time, like, I come from a background of like, I mean, this is like 6 years ago, but I worked for like the trad banking side of things, on the tech side. But like, this guy rips. This is his point, and I don't mean to like just shit on like some random account, but this is what people in the Luna Classic community are thinking. He says, "Does your fiat bank know your account number? Yes. Do they know your card number? Yes. Do they know expiry and CCB? Yes. Will they steal your money? No. Will AllNodes steal your money and votes? No." And like, this is just what do you think of this tweet, Joseph?
I mean, I find it interesting. I mean, like, I think it's pretty common, and like it has happened in the past in history where banks like do control your access to your money. It has happened. If you want to have complete sovereignty of your assets, then blockchain is the way to go. I just find it really interesting to think that all nodes can't steal your money and your votes. I mean, like, I guess I'm really generally confused as to what the point of this was. Is he advocating for the use of blockchain, or just kind of advocating for the use of that? It's kind of pointless, because to me, it just
looks
seems
like he's advocating for the use of banks, in my
yeah,
opinion.
yeah, it just seems. I mean, like, I would agree with him. I think the vast majority of people should be using banks. Like, I genuinely do feel that way. I feel like the vast majority of the people should use banks. But also, that's probably because, coming from my opinion, I live in the U.S. I have access to good banking infrastructure into a monetary currency system that isn't hyperinflating. So that's part of like my own like geographical bias, where I just would recommend vast majority of people to just live their lives through banking. I don't think.
Have you ever heard of the Greek banking crisis and the bail-in?
I knew that they had a banking crisis, but I did not know the details about it.
It's an interesting, like, we're getting like more into like the philosophy, but it's just, I don't know how to articulate the point here, but when I deal with the Luna Classic community, it just seems like they don't get it. Like, it's just, and I don't mean to sound like a dickhead, because I was there once too, and it's like very hard to wrap your head around, and sometimes like you could be very off-putting by kind of just like being an asshole, like Gadickian is sometimes. But I mean, I agree with him, which is like, what are you talking about? Does your fiat bank account know your account number? Yes. Do they know your card number? Yes. Build a bank, build another bank if that's what you want. Like, what are you talking about? This isn't banking. This is supposed to be trustless and permissionless. And yeah, the bank's not going to rug you. Oh, until there's a crisis and then they do a bail-in, or they do some bullshit with your money where you have no option. So the bail-in, and the reason I bring it up just to tie up a loose end on my talking point there, and I don't know the exact figures, but it was like the Greek government had so much debt that they said, all right, we're going to do a bail-in where we go to the banks and we say, every dollar you have over 20,000, over 50,000, whatever, that's just now ours. And we're going to use that to pay off the debt.
That
They
actually
did that
happened.
to people. They did
They
that
did
to
that
people.
to people. That is insane. I mean,
Yeah.
like,
So
it doesn't surprise me after the '08 housing crisis, the major bailout that happened on the bankings that were over leveraged and were obviously taking advantage of the CDAs on the housing crash. Like, I mean, it just doesn't surprise me. I mean, that's why I'm blockchain pilled, and that's why I believe in the ethos of Bitcoin. Um,
you could take this off the screen, Steph. I mean, this is just the thing that, like,
so you
it's just
think
so
that Luna?
frustrating to listen to the Luna Classic community, and I try my best to, like, I don't know. I'm trying not to sound like an elitist dickhead or like sound like
Yeah.
ridiculous in here, but you try your best to, like, invite people who are normies in and, like, try to explain to them. And I always try and start with, like, step one, which is like respect the orange coin, understand where it came from, understand why it was built the way it was, understand why Satoshi is anonymous, understand why, you know, anybody can spin up a mining rig and mine Bitcoin, and anyone can
Mhm.
spin up a node. And, you know, not anyone, but, like, to the extent that, you know, anybody anonymously can process transactions. And it just, you try and start there, but you have so many people that just enter from, like, oh, well, Dogecoin, like, did a 500x. And so, like, let's go there. And like, now you have people that are getting into the validating game because, you know, AllNodes makes it easier, and that's a good thing, but you can't have everybody's keys at the same time. I mean, it's just like, it's crazy to me. And now people who, I think, like, at the very core, they don't understand the very core of this entire industry. They're like, well, it's just easier, so, like, let's just do it that way. And that's, at that point, just have a bank. Don't argue for a bank and compare it to AllNodes in an argument about security and cryptocurrency. And he says, utterly perfect illustration of the issue. Trust me, bro. Like, that's, I don't know. I don't want to be an asshole to these people, but, like, some of these influencers on Luna Classic, they sit there and they talk about, like, oh, just be a good person, and, like, don't be a dick. And it's just like, dude,
Mhm.
then go bank with the fucking local bank or the local credit union. They're not assholes. Like, what are you doing? You're just causing, like, a huge security issue. And I don't know. The drama is ongoing. I think they were just in a spaces before we went live, so maybe I'll go back and listen to it. But
So they were
Luna,
advocating so they were advocating essentially for spinning up validators, and they were upset that validators don't have the ability to see everyone's, like, keys and stuff like that. Is that the misunderstanding? Is that the problem?
the issue is there are validators on Luna Classic that are using AllNodes as a white label service, and
Uh-huh.
AllNodes has access to their private keys. Like, they
Interesting.
basically spun up the validator and then emailed the private key or however they shared it with those
Mhm.
people so that they could then vote on issues or, you know, withdraw their commissions or
Yeah.
whatever.
But
But
then
now you have
AllNodes
AllNodes
access.
that controls a massive portion of the network and has everybody's keys. So if they, let's just say, and I'm not saying AllNodes is going to do this, but you never
Yes.
know. You never know if somebody within AllNodes that's a contractor for AllNodes has access to those keys and then gets fired by the director of AllNodes and then says, well, fuck these guys. I'm going to push a proposal forward that says we
Mm.
need to pay for, you know, the Muppets to come in and send all the money to this address. It's owned by George Henson and the Muppets, and really, it's just this pissed off
Yeah.
contractor that left AllNodes. There's just so many things that can happen. It doesn't even have to be malicious. It could
Yeah.
be. It could be what's the opposite of malicious, but still the same. Maybe not the opposite, but it
Like,
could be what's the word?
not nefarious, or, like, are you trying to say that they're trying to be mean or
No, like when you make a mistake, it could be
incidentally?
whatever. That's what I mean. But so anyway, all these influencers who have spun up validators on all with using AllNodes,
Yeah.
they're it's an existential threat to them because now they need to basically shut down that validator, spin up a new one with a service that doesn't have their keys, which some of them don't have the technical ability to do, and they
Mhm.
need to like re-attract all those votes, right? And some of those votes are just, you know, it's hard to attract votes as a validator.
Yeah.
And so benign Tom.
Benign, that's
No,
the
it's
word,
what
that's
is
the
it called in legalese when, like, someone
legal
makes a mistake and, like, someone gets hurt because of it? What is that called?
uh,
Didn't you go to college? What the
Dude,
hell?
I was an engineer. I barely know how to read. Like, are you kidding me? All I see are numbers. I guess it would just be incidental.
No, not incidental.
Like
Whatever. Anyway, I'm done. I'm done
consequently.
talking about it. But it's just been interesting drama to follow.
I
I think
think
the
I
Luna
think
Classic community is going through an existential crisis here.
No, I agree with you. I think that it is the reason why people are still here in the bear market. It's like everyone's at a different level of understanding what's going on in blockchain. There are different people that see the use cases of blockchain differently. I mean, I've met people who are very well educated and very blockchain pilled. They believe in the mission of Ethereum, but they're like very staunchly believe that Bitcoin is a greater fool theory asset. Like I've genuinely have met people who are Ethereum maxis and they fully believe in the ability for Ethereum to go to the moon, and they see that being the future financial settlement layer. But they think that Bitcoin is legitimately like a full theory asset, that it has no true use case in the world. So I have encountered a lot of backwards people, or I guess a lot of interesting people in blockchain that they identify the use cases for the tech in a different way, I guess. And I'm assuming that that's
Negligence is the word that I was thinking of that I had to
negligence.
Google. So,
Okay.
um, yeah, I just think, okay, there's a lot of use cases for blockchain, sure. But like if you
Yeah.
want just a centralized blockchain, then just use a bank. It's the same thing we talk about with like when we talk about Obi, um, and like people are like, well, we want a centralized solution. It's like, well, then just use a bank. I don't understand.
Mhm.
Like, I'm not like saying banks are, I mean, I think banks are evil and I think the current fiat system is ridiculous, but
Yeah.
there's a use case for it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I
Like
mean,
you see what happens with Luna uh in the crash. At least if those were banks, we would have had FDIC insurance up
yeah,
to,
we would.
a certain amount. But
Yeah.
so there's a use case for it. It's just like some of these people come in and they're so like price driven or so like they just have no idea what they have no foundation of why any of this stuff exists. And they
The
think like
value for it.
Bitcoin, they look at coin market cap and they're like, well, Bitcoin's $23,000. Like I'll never afford one of those. And they don't understand like, no, like that's actually to this day pretty much the only sovereign like digital asset that's come out that like can't basically be shut down by identifying the major parties that run it and control it. So
I see it as, I mean, like, I don't know. This could be just because I'm seeing it through my lens of like the tech that I grew up in. I just see it as a learning curve of people to understand a new technology. Did this happen back in like when Apple released the like the App Store? Did this happen when the internet was starting to get adopted back in the day? Like did people just genuinely not see the point of the internet being useful? I mean, I read back and I see people who just did not see the use cases of internet, and a lot of people just didn't understand it at the time. I
yeah,
feel like that's kind of the layer that's happening with blockchain. It's just that blockchain is just another evolution on top of computers, other than just like being a network of distributed computers. It's actually providing a monetary ledger, or a ledger that can be used for monetary purposes. I just think that it's the complexity of the tech is just causing people to, I guess, interpret and not like struggle to see what is actually happening on at the network level. But that's just
yeah.
me.
It's just I can see why the people who are validators white labeled through AllNodes are arguing against Jacob in the way they are. I see their point of view. I just don't agree with their point of view.
Yeah.
And like their argument is, well, you're like screwing over validators who are, they're hard workers and it's like,
Yeah.
well, that doesn't mean shit. Like that doesn't mean anything. I mean, it sucks, but like
Yeah.
at least try and like come to a resolution. I just did see a couple validators switched over, but I don't know. It's just like at the end of the day, if something negligent or malicious happens with AllNode, with them mismanaging their keys, or like somewhere out there, there's probably literally a spreadsheet with a bunch of keys on it to like a major voting portion of Luna Classic.
Yeah, and they
Like
could take over the next.
that might exist somewhere. I don't know. I'm not saying that for sure, but that
Yeah.
might exist somewhere, and that's a pretty huge issue. Like
It
I
very
said, you
well
could
could
come
be.
forward and be like, well, we need to vote like on this proposal to give, half the supply of Lunk needs to be burnt and sent to my wallet. And like everybody votes yes. And then nobody can, then these validators, and then you're like, Mr. Diamond Hands, like again, the meme name, like Diamond Hands is a new thing that came up with GME and stocks and meme culture and Wall Street
Yeah.
bets and Doge. That's a new name that wasn't here necessarily for like why this shit even exists. And so why when you get asked why did you vote on this proposal, well, it's like, well, I didn't have my keys. I mean, the guy publicly was tweeting at AllNodes asking for the keys in
Yeah.
public tweets.
Yeah.
Like,
They just don't understand.
is that fucking crazy or what? Why would you not at least private DM them? Why would you make that public? That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I agree. I just think I go back to it is that people just don't understand what the fuck's going on. It's just the
use the
reality.
bank.
Yeah, just use a
Just
bank.
put your money on FTX.
Yeah, just put your money on FTX or Celsius.
Put your money on FTX and use one of their. I'm sure they had some like bullshit grid bot thing that you could use, and just trust.
Probably.
Just trust me, bro. Like Jacob says, trust Sam, trust whoever. I don't know. I just think this.
Trust Gary.
It's a fun industry at the very least. There's never a lack of drama with people like Kadikian, with people like Jacob Kadikian, and he comes onto a space and he's. I mean, I like him though. I like him. I like the guy.
He's got a point. The trust me, bro stage is just never gonna end.
He doesn't give a shit. So I can respect that. Ape Depto TV says. Luna Classic people moving to Luna once it goes 10 plus. I mean, we'll see. That's a little late. If it's going to go 10 plus, why don't they just do it now when it's $2 or whatever? That'll
be interesting for sure.
All right. What else? Anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think I'm good on this week. Next week I haven't confirmed yet, but I'm working on getting Mars Protocol onto the live.
I thought we had Kanto guys coming on next week.
No, we have Mars coming on next week because they are launching. Their chain is coming live this February 1st, I believe, or February 2nd. Their chain is going live, or I think it's January 31st, maybe. I don't know. It's just happening early next week, and they're going to go live with their own native chain. And we're going to have Larry and potentially someone else from the Mars Protocol team joining us. I have to get Donku. Donku, if you're watching, please spin up the group chat. Larry said that you were going to spin it up. But yeah, that's kind of what I've got going on next week.
All right. Well, you're the producer of the show, so get to it. If the show sucks, it's your fault. If the show's great, well, that's, of course, always my fault. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us again. We will be live again next week, Thursday, hopefully at 12. If Steph could show up on time and get the show running and deal with all these technical difficulties. Let's try and show up, Steph. I don't know. Let's maybe 10 minutes before the show starts next time. What do you think? Is that easy enough? 10 minutes? Is that enough time to troubleshoot all the technical difficulties? Because it took 30 minutes today to troubleshoot all the technical difficulties. Maybe we should show up 30 minutes before the show starts. Does that sound like a good rule of thumb? No? Is it too early for you? I'm sorry. It's 12 o'clock Eastern. Is that too early for you?
You're going to keep roasting him live?
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll see you again next week.